The following morning, the council chamber of Taurus Prime was under heavy guard. Every entrance was blocked by armed security units. The huge round table in the center gleamed under the soft lights, but the air was tense. High Speaker Valeran stood at the head, feathers fluffed in nervous display. Around the table sat the 12 counselors, each representing their homeworlds. Every one of them knew today's meeting would shape the history of the Alliance. Outside, in the grand hall, the humans waited. Admiral Thelos entered the chamber first, his face unreadable. They have agreed to meet, but only under certain conditions, he said. Their leader will speak for them. They will not be separated from their guards, and they insist their translator drones be present at all times. Counselor Brath's heavy-scaled hands drummed on the table. That is not how we usually conduct diplomacy. It is not usual when a fleet of unknown warships appears over our capital, Valeran replied sharply. Let them enter. The tall doors opened with a deep mechanical hum. They walked in, 6 of them. The leader was the same man who had stepped off the shuttle yesterday. His dark armor was cleaner now, though still scratched in places. Behind him came 5 more, each carrying a weapon that looked far too large for any Alliance soldier to use. They moved in perfect formation, scanning the room with sharp eyes as if expecting an ambush. When the leader reached the table, he removed his helmet again and placed it on the polished surface. His expression was calm, but there was a weight in his gaze that made even the bravest counselors uneasy. The translator drone hovered near his shoulder. I am Captain Elias Rourke of the United Terran Fleet, he said. The words came slowly, carefully shaped so the drone could translate. Valeran spoke first. Captain Rourke, you have entered Alliance space without permission. Your fleet's sudden arrival has caused great concern. Explain your purpose here. Rourke's jaw tightened. We detected something, a disturbance. We tracked it across the galaxy to this region. Its signal ends here, in your territory. What kind of disturbance? Asked Shavar, leaning forward. A gravitic anomaly, Rourke replied. Not natural. We believe it's an artificial construct, and it's dangerous. The word dangerous echoed in the chamber. Dangerous to whom? Brath demanded. To everyone, Rourke said simply. We've seen what can happen when something like this wakes up. The counselors exchanged uneasy glances. No species in the Alliance had technology capable of creating a gravitic anomaly large enough to be detected across half the galaxy. If these humans knew of such a thing, they might know its origin, or they might be its cause. Counselor Ashen, a soft-voiced Solari, finally spoke. Your ships, they traveled here without slipstream nodes. How? Rourke glanced at his guards before answering. Our vessels are built to survive the environments we come from. Slipstream travel is unreliable where we live. We had to find other ways. You mean your world, Valeran said, his voice cautious. Sol 3, Earth, a Class V Deathworld. A flicker of pride crossed Rourke's face. Yes, we evolved. There, we adapted. And we learned to build ships that can cross the galaxy without stopping for repairs. That last sentence struck the Council like a hammer. No other species in the Alliance could even imagine such endurance. Thelos leaned forward. Your people have been hidden from the rest of the galaxy for how long? Rourke's lips curved in something that was not quite a smile. Long enough to watch from a distance. Long enough to know when something dangerous moves in the dark. A soft chime interrupted them. It came from the wall console, an urgent transmission. Admiral Thelos glanced at the display. His face darkened. High Speaker, sensors have detected another fleet entering the system. The room went still. Valeran's voice was low. Not yours, I assume? Rourke shook his head. Not ours. Outside the windows, Far above the capital's skies, the stars shifted. Dozens of new contacts appeared on the defense grid. Their signatures were jagged and uneven, like a swarm of insects. "They're broadcasting no identification," said Thalos, reading the feed. "Speed and vector suggest combat intent." Rourke's eyes narrowed. "The Vral Swarm," he said. The name meant nothing to most counselors, but Admiral Thalos stiffened. "They are raiders," he explained quickly. "Nomadic predators. They strip worlds of life and resources, then move on. They've never come this far into Alliance space before." Rourke's voice was flat. "They've come because they sensed what we did. The anomaly draws them. If they reach it before we do, this entire sector will burn." Counselor Brath growled. "Our defense fleet can—" "No," Rourke cut in. "I've fought them before. Your ships aren't built for this kind of fight. Ours are." There was a long silence. No one liked being told their military was weak, but the quiet confidence in Rourke's tone was impossible to ignore. Valerian finally asked, "And if we allow you to engage them?" Rourke's gaze swept across the council. "Then you'll see why the galaxy should be very careful about waking Deathworlders." The meeting ended without ceremony. The humans left the chamber as silently as they had entered. From the observation platform atop the council tower, Valerian watched the United Terran fleet move. The great warships shifted in perfect unison, forming a wall between the Vral and the planet. Their engines glowed with a fierce blue light. Alliance ships held back, forming a second defensive line. No one in the Alliance fleet spoke openly, but every crew member was watching, curious, cautious, even afraid, to see what these Deathworlders would do. In the command center of his flagship, Rourke stood before the main screen. The Vral fleet grew larger every second. Their ships were ugly things, bristling with spines and jagged plating. They moved in swarms, darting around each other like living predators. Rourke tapped his comm. "All ships, weapons free. Target. Lead vessels first. Break the swarm." The order spread through the Terran fleet. Cannons rotated. Missile tubes opened. Energy projectors powered up with a low hum that sent vibrations through every deck. Back in the council chamber, Admiral Thalos received the tactical feed. What he saw made his scaled brow crease in disbelief. The Terran ships didn't form the wide arcs the Alliance used for defense. Instead, they broke into smaller packs, each moving at extreme speed, weaving in and out of formation. It was chaos, but coordinated chaos. And then, without warning, the Deathworlders struck. The first volley was like nothing the Alliance had ever recorded. Hypervelocity slugs tore through the void, shattering Vral hulls with single hits. Missiles detonated with precise timing, scattering shrapnel into pursuing ships. Energy lances carved glowing scars into enemy armor. The Vral responded with their own barrage, but the humans kept moving, twisting, diving through debris fields as if they were born in them. Some ships even used the wreckage of destroyed enemies as shields, turning them into cover mid-battle. Thalos watched, astonished. "They're adapting in real time," he whispered. Beside him, Counselor Shivar asked, "Adapting to what?" "Everything," Thalos replied. Out in the void, the humans pressed forward. Boarding craft detached from their carriers, darting toward crippled Vral ships. The swarm fought viciously, but the Deathworlders fought harder. Close-quarters combat in vacuum, brutal and efficient. Within minutes, the Vral attack faltered. What had begun as a confident predator strike was turning into a desperate retreat. But Rourke didn't celebrate. His eyes stayed on the long-range scans. The anomaly was still there, pulsing faintly in the dark beyond the system. The Vral would be back, and whatever lay at the heart of that disturbance was still waking. The battle was over, but the void still burned. Shattered wrecks of Vral ships drifted like dead insects, their jagged hulls turning slowly in the light of Taris Prime's sun. Alliance crews were busy pulling survivors from escape pods. The Silence of victory was heavy, broken only by the crackle of comms. From the observation deck of the Alliance Command Station, Admiral Thelos stood with High Speaker Volaran. They both watched the Terran fleet move among the wreckage like hunting beasts after a kill. "They do not fight like us," Volaran said softly. "No," Thelos replied. "They fight like their lives have depended on it every single day." "Captain," Rourke's voice came over the secure line. "Vral force neutralized. Minimal Terran losses. But this was only a scouting party. The main swarm is still out there." "Do you know where they will strike next?" Volaran asked. "They're not after your worlds," Rourke said. "They're after the anomaly. Same as us." The council gathered again, this time with Rourke present via HoloLink. His image stood tall in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the worried faces of the 12 counselors. "Explain," Volaran said. "You've mentioned this anomaly twice. We need more than vague warnings." Rourke took a breath. "The anomaly is a gravitic disturbance, a ripple in space-time, artificial in origin. We've tracked it for months. It behaves like a signal, though it's not one you can hear. Certain predators, like the Vral, can sense it naturally. My people learned to detect it using our instruments." "Why would predators be drawn to it?" Counselor Shavar asked. "Because," Rourke said slowly, "in the past, anomalies like this have led to ancient weapons, devices that can destroy worlds in seconds." The room fell silent. Finally, Brath growled, "You speak as if you've seen one before." Rourke's jaw tightened. "We have." He leaned forward, voice low. 100 years ago, in our own sector, an anomaly appeared in deep space. The swarm came for it, just like now. We fought them for months, losing dozens of ships until we reached the source, an abandoned construct the size of a moon. We didn't know what it was at first. "Then it activated. What happened?" Volaran asked. "It erased a star system," Rourke said flatly. "Not destroyed, erased. Planets, moons, the star itself. Gone, replaced by an empty void. We barely escaped." Shavar's glassy eyes reflected fear. "And you think this anomaly is another one?" "I know it is," Rourke replied. "And if the Vral get control of it before we do, they will use it until nothing is left." Volaran asked. "Why risk yourselves? Why not leave this to the Alliance?" The human captain's gaze hardened. "Because no one else is ready for what's waiting out there. You've lived in peace too long. My people, we were born in a place that tries to kill us every day. We don't fear hostile skies or dangerous ground. We grew up in them." The counselors exchanged uneasy looks. Most of them had studied Deathworld classifications in Academy. The scale ran from Class 1 to Class Phi. Earth was one of the very few marked Class V, extreme gravity, violent weather systems, unstable geology, constant predation from dangerous fauna, and diseases capable of killing in hours. Life there was considered impossible. Yet here stood proof it not only existed, but had thrived. Counselor Aishen tilted her head. "Tell us, Captain, how does one survive such a world?" Rourke's expression was unreadable. "We adapt. We fight. We work together because anything else means death. On my world, you learn early that nature doesn't care if you live. You have to take survival with your own hands. That's why our ships are built to endure, why our soldiers can fight in any environment, and why we never run from danger." It was clear he wasn't boasting. He was simply stating fact. Volaran finally spoke. "Then you intend to find the anomaly before the swarm?" "Yes," Rourke said, "and we'll need your help." The request surprised them. "Help? You have the stronger fleet," Brath said. "I have the stronger fleet for combat," Rourke admitted. "But you know this region's star systems better. You have stations, supply lines, and planetary bases that can be turned into listening posts. Together we can track the anomaly faster than the swarm." And if we refuse? Shavar asked. Rourke's voice was like steel. Then we'll go alone. But when the swarm comes for you, we won't be here to stop them. There was no more argument after that. The council agreed to form a joint operation. Over the next 3 days, the skies of Taurus Prime were filled with movement. Alliance support ships joined the Terran fleet, guided by human navigation officers who seemed to know every shortcut through dangerous asteroid belts and unstable warp lanes. Alliance crew members were shocked at how comfortable humans were in regions they considered unsafe for travel. In the mess halls of the combined fleet, small exchanges took place. An Avery engineer asked a human, "Your hull plating is uneven. Was it damaged?" The human laughed. "That's extra armor welded over the weak points. You patch a ship, like you patch a wound, fast and ugly, but it keeps you alive." In another corner, a young Viel pilot asked, "Why do your boarding soldiers carry blades?" "Energy rifles are more efficient." The soldier grinned. "Rifles jam. Ammunition runs out. But a blade? That never needs recharging." The Alliance officers began to realize that humans didn't build for beauty. They built for survival. Every system had backups. Every weapon could function even when damaged, and every crew member carried not just skill, but a kind of instinct, the reflexes of people who had survived a lifetime of danger. On the 4th day, the anomaly shifted. Ripple of distorted space spread across the fleet's sensors, stronger than before. Its position was now clear. Deep within the uncharted Grathos expanse, a region of unstable nebulae and black hole remnants. Thelos stared at the readings. "That's a death zone. No ship has ever navigated it." Rourke's voice came calmly over the comm. "We have! Set course!" The fleet moved into the expanse. The colorful clouds of ionized gas swirled around them, lit by distant flashes of radiation storms. Gravity wells from collapsed stars tugged at their paths. Alliance ships relied on Terran escorts to guide them through narrow, safe lanes. Halfway in, the Vral appeared. It wasn't a full swarm, but it was enough to slow them. The humans engaged immediately, using the nebula's interference to mask their attacks. They fought like predators themselves, striking from the gas clouds, vanishing, then hitting from another angle. The Alliance crews, inspired by what they saw, began copying the tactics. For the first time in centuries, they fought not like cautious peacekeepers, but like survivors. When the battle was over, the path to the anomaly lay open. But the sight ahead made even Rourke pause. Suspended in the void was a structure larger than any station, a ring-shaped fortress of ancient metal, its surface cracked but still humming with power. Inside the ring was nothing, a void so deep it seemed to swallow the stars behind it. Thelos whispered, "What is it?" Rourke's eyes were fixed on it. A weapon, the kind that erases. The Alliance had never seen such a thing. But the humans had, and they knew exactly how dangerous it was. The ring-shaped fortress hung in the void like a silent predator. Its cracked surface glowed faintly with blue light, and the hollow center swallowed every bit of starlight behind it. No one in the Alliance fleet spoke. Even the comm channels were quiet, as if the crews feared the thing might hear them. On the Terran flagship Iron Resolve, Captain Elias Rourke stood on the command deck, eyes locked on the ancient weapon. "That's it," he said. "The source of the anomaly. Admiral." Thelos's voice came through the secure line from the Alliance command ship. "It's bigger than anything in our records. What exactly does it do?" Rourke didn't look away. "It erases star systems. No debris, no radiation, just nothing, as if they never existed." Before Thelos could respond, a loud alarm cut through the silence. The Terran tactical officer called out, "Multiple contacts on approach. Vector 032 Mark 7. It's the Vral main swarm." The screen lit up with hundreds of red markers. The swarm was massive, larger than both the Terran and Alliance fleets combined. Their jagged, insect-like ships moved in tight clusters, their formation like the claws of a predator closing around its prey. Rourke spoke into the fleet-wide channel. "All hands! Battle stations! This is where we stop them!" The Alliance fleet shifted into a defensive wall, shields flaring to life. But the Terrans didn't form a wall. They scattered into small, fast-moving packs, like hunters preparing to surround prey. Admiral Thelos watched their strange formation. "Your ships aren't staying together," he said to Rourke. "That's the point," Rourke replied. "The swarm is used to overwhelming slower fleets. We don't give them a target big enough to crush." The first wave of Vraal's ships hit like a storm. The air in the Alliance command center shook as massive energy blasts rattled shields. Enemy boarding pods slammed into the outer ships. Vraal warriors, six-legged, armored with razor claws, poured into corridors. Terran and Alliance Marines fought side by side. Humans wielded heavy rifles and close combat blades, moving with brutal precision. Avri soldiers provided aerial cover with jetpacks, while Goran warriors used their thick scales to block corridors and protect retreating crews. Out in space, Terran ships darted between Vraal formations, targeting their command vessels first. One Terran frigate, the Spearhead, deliberately rammed an enemy destroyer, locking their hulls together so boarding teams could fight hand-to-hand in zero gravity. Alliance. Officers watching the feed were stunned. "They're insane," one Vial lieutenant whispered. "No," Admiral Thelos said, eyes fixed on the screen. "They're Deathworlders," Rourke's voice cut in over comms. "Admiral, we can't just hold them off. They'll keep coming." "Until the weapon is theirs. We have to destroy it." Thelos hesitated. "Can it be destroyed?" "Not from the outside," Rourke said. "We have to go inside the ring and shut it down from the core." The plan was madness. The interior of the weapon was a gravitic nightmare. Readings showed crushing forces, lethal radiation, and unstable magnetic storms. No Alliance crew could survive it, but humans. Humans came from a world that had thrown hurricanes, earthquakes, and freezing winters at them since the dawn of their species. Rourke formed a strike team. Half were Terrans in heavy combat suits, the other half volunteers from the Alliance. Avri pilots for their maneuverability, Goran for their strength, Vial for their engineering skills. They launched in small craft under heavy cover fire from the fleets. Terran gunships wove through the battle, dodging plasma bolts and missile swarms. As the strike team approached the ring, the true scale of the weapon became clear. Its surface was covered in deep scars from ancient battles, but the metal beneath was still alive with strange, shifting light. Massive spires jutted out like teeth, each one the size of a battleship. Rourke's gunship flew into a yawning hangar, carved into the outer hull. The moment they crossed the threshold, alarms blared. The weapon had detected them. Automated defense drones swarmed from the walls, firing bursts of white-hot energy. "Contact!" shouted a Terran Marine, blasting a drone into molten shards. The Avri pilots zipped through the chaos, firing from the air. The Goran warriors stood at the front, their armor absorbing hits that would have killed others. Humans moved between, them like flowing water, aiming, firing, and reloading without pause. They pushed deeper into the weapon. The interior was worse than anyone imagined. Gravity fluctuated with every step. One moment crushingly heavy, the next almost weightless. Air pressure shifted suddenly, forcing helmets to seal tight. Magnetic surges made compasses spin wildly. "Feels like home," one Terran joked grimly, over the comms. Finally, they reached the core. It was a sphere of impossible darkness, suspended in mid-air by beams of golden light. Energy crackled around it, warping the space nearby. Looking at it made the mind ache, as if it was too real to exist. Vial engineers scanned it quickly. "It's eating space-time," one whispered. Rourke's voice was steady. Then we make it choke. The team planted demolition charges on the core's stabilizers. As they worked, the ship's comms crackled with reports from outside. The fleets were taking heavy losses, but the Terrans' scattered tactics had prevented a full collapse. 2 minutes to detonation, the engineer called. Then the Vral arrived. They came through the walls like living blades, their claws slicing metal. The fight was chaos. Claws against steel, rifles against armor. A Goran warrior fell, protecting a Vial engineer. And a Bow. Avery pilot was struck from the air but fired a last shot that destroyed a drone about to hit Rourke. The humans fought like the stories claimed, unyielding, furious, relentless. Even when wounded, they pressed forward. "Charges set!" the Veil engineer shouted. "Fall back!" Rourke ordered. The team raced through twisting corridors as the weapon's internal alarms screamed. Gravity shifted violently, throwing them. Against walls, fire and sparks filled the air. They reached their gunships just as the countdown hit 0. From the fleet's point of view, the ring-shaped fortress shuddered, then imploded, collapsing inward before vanishing in a silent flash of white light. For a heartbeat, the void was empty. Then the shockwave hit, rattling ships and scattering. Debris in every direction. The Vral swarm faltered, their prize gone. Without the weapon, their formation broke. The Terran and Alliance fleets struck hard, forcing the swarm into full retreat. When the last enemy marker vanished from sensors, the silence returned. But it was a different silence. Not fear, not uncertainty. Victory. On the bridge of the A. Iron resolve. Rourke removed his helmet, sweat streaking his face. He opened a channel to the Alliance command ship. "It's done," he said simply. Admiral Thelos looked at him with something like respect. "You just saved the sector, Captain Rourke." Rourke shook his head. "No, we all did. Remember that when the next storm comes." In the days that followed, the Alliance sent rescue crews and repair ships across the system. The dead were honored, both Terran and Alliance. The fleets lingered together, no longer strangers but comrades who had fought for the same cause. But even as the celebrations began, Rourke knew the truth. The Vral swarm would return one day. The galactic capital of Velthora burned under a sky filled with warships. Towers once shining in white and gold were now blackened by smoke. The ground shook every few seconds as explosions tore through the city's shields. General Koresh stood, in the command chamber of the Zorth Dominion, his claws digging into the metal railing. This cannot be happening," he muttered. His officers didn't dare speak. The massive holographic map above them showed hundreds of red dots, enemy ships closing in. But the strange thing was, these enemy vessels were not moving. Like any fleet Koresh had fought before, they moved in perfect formation like a hunting pack. "Status?" Koresh barked. An officer swallowed hard. "General, the Deathworlders have breached the orbital defense line. They are descending." Koresh slammed his fist into the console. "How can they break through so fast? Those shields can withstand." "A neutron cannon!" The officer's voice trembled. "They didn't use cannons, sir. They used something else. They hit the shields with a mix of EMP bursts, precision missiles, and kinetic rods. They found every weak point." Koresh's eyes narrowed. These were not mindless brutes. These humans fought with terrifying intelligence. The arrival high above Velthora, Captain Arya Vance's flagship Vanguard led the human armada. From her seat on the bridge, she watched as the city's shield lines collapsed one by one. "All fleets, maintain tight formation," she ordered calmly. "Remember, our goal is not destruction. Our goal is to make sure they never threaten another world again." Her second officer, Lieutenant Gray, smirked. "Understood, Captain. But if they surrender, we're still blowing up their weapons. Cash, right?" Arya allowed herself a small smile. "Of course." A message flashed on her screen. It was from the alien resistance fighters on the planet. "We're ready. Give us the signal." Arya's voice hardened. "Send it." On the surface, pockets of alien civilians and defected soldiers received the signal through hidden devices. They immediately began sabotaging the Dominion's anti-air turrets and power generators. The humans hadn't just attacked from above. They had planned for allies inside the enemy's homeworld. The fear spreads back in the command chamber. Alarms screamed. "General! Our own turrets are firing at us," an officer shouted. "What? Shut them down!" Koresh roared. "We can't. They've been overridden." Koresh's mind spun. How could these humans coordinate so well? They've never set foot on our world before. Then it hit him. Spies. The humans must have infiltrated long before the battle began. This war wasn't just won by guns. It was won by preparation. He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to the fleet. Every ship is to defend the capital at all costs. If we lose Velthora," the officer froze. "Sir, the fleet is gone." Koresh blinked. "Gone?" They didn't even get to fight. The humans sent a signal that shut down half their systems, then hit them with railgun strikes before they could restart. The general's scales prickled with cold fear. This was no longer a battle. This was an extermination, the ground war. The first human dropships hit the streets with the force of meteors. They didn't slow down. They simply deployed shock absorbers that let them slam into the ground like hammers. Ramps dropped, and armored soldiers poured out. Sergeant Mason's squad moved through the burning streets, weapons raised. His armors, AI fed him enemy positions through a heads-up display. "Contact, 2 o'clock, his AI barked. Without hesitation, Mason fired a burst of hypersonic rounds, the shot slicing through an armored walker like paper. Beside him, Corporal Lena used a drone to scout the next intersection. Multiple hostiles ahead, recommending flanking maneuver. "Do it," Mason replied. The humans didn't fight in straight lines. They moved like predators, always circling, always striking from unexpected angles. Alien soldiers found themselves shot from behind even when they thought they were facing the enemy. The Dominion had fought countless wars, but never against an enemy that made every soldier feel like prey. The last standby nightfall, the humans had pushed into the Palace District. The massive obsidian gates stood tall, guarded by the Dominion's elite troops. General Koresh stood before them, his armor gleaming in the firelight. He knew he would not survive the night, but he refused to run. The sound of boots approached. A line of human soldiers emerged from the smoke, their leader stepping forward. It was Captain Arya Vance. Koresh studied her face, calm, determined, and utterly fearless. "Why?" he demanded. "Why fight us here? What are humans to gain from this war?" Arya's eyes hardened. "We don't fight for gain. We fight because you threatened our allies. You thought you could enslave and conquer worlds without consequence. You were wrong." Koresh's mandibles clicked in frustration. "Do you know what will happen if you kill me? The Dominion will never stop hunting you." Arya stepped closer, her voice low. "Then tell your people this. If they come for us, we will find them, no matter where they hide." Koresh realized then what made humans so dangerous. It wasn't their weapons. It was their will. The fall of Velthora. The palace gates fell under concentrated explosives. Human soldiers surged in, their precision unmatched. Within minutes, the Dominion's command center was under human control. Across the city, alien resistance. Fighters joined the humans, securing streets and rescuing civilians. For the first time in centuries, Velthora was free from Dominion rule. In orbit, the human fleet broadcast a single message to the entire galaxy. "This war is over. The Deathworlders have spoken." The transmission spread far and wide, carried on every frequency. On countless worlds, oppressed people looked up at the stars and felt something they hadn't in years: hope. Aftermath days later, Captain Arya stood on the balcony of the former Dominion Palace, now a temporary headquarters for the Liberation Council. Mason and Lena joined her, watching the sunrise over the city. "Think they'll come back?" Mason asked quietly. Arya didn't answer right away. She looked at the golden light spreading across the horizon. "If they do, they'll remember what happened here. And they'll know. Humans don't run." Lena smirked. "And we don't lose." They stood together in silence, the city slowly coming back to life below them. Far above, the human fleet waited among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Because in the vast and dangerous galaxy, the Deathworlders had made their place, and no one would forget it.